Hello everybody, welcome back to another video of No Huddle. First video back in a while. Fall semester of college just got over. Really slowed me down just a little bit. No videos, but I'm going to try to put in some work, get the time in, pump up some videos for you guys. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new college football rankings. They just got released today, the new playoff rankings. All the bowl games as well, we're going to be taking a look at all those. Really excited for this this time of college football. One of the most exciting times if you're a diehard college football fan. Transfer portal opens tomorrow. I'm gonna have a video or two about that in the coming days. But for now, let's take a look at these new rankings. So starting off, number 1, Georgia. As many expected, they'll be playing the Ohio State Buckeyes in the Peach Bowl this year. That game is going to be in Atlanta. Georgia's already played there twice this year. They are 2-0. And in those games, just for a side fact, they're outscoring their opponents 99-33. Thanks to Oregon, lost 49-3 in that game. LSU just this past weekend, Georgia dropped a 50 bomb on them. So that's probably the most exciting matchup of this bowl season. I will say for a 1-4 matchup, I think Georgia got the hardest matchup they could possibly get in this playoff. I think Ohio State can pose the most problems out of the other three teams. Even Michigan, I think it comes down to the play style, Last year we saw Michigan and Georgia in the playoff. It didn't go so well. Michigan lacked the explosive plays, couldn't move the ball. They were down, I think, 31-3 at one point in that game. It got out of hand early, and Michigan just didn't have the quarterback play, the passing attack to come back in that game. Now you look at Ohio State. Ohio State, they certainly have the weapons. And if Njigba comes back, which is still up in the air, Ryan Day said that he's going to say something in the next couple of days, see how Njigba's feeling. But if he comes back, Henderson's feeling better, Williams is back in the backfield. We're talking about the best receiving core in college football, maybe the best offense in college football. So with that said, Georgia this past weekend against LSU, Jaden Daniels, he was moving the ball pretty well. He couldn't run. That ankle injury that was lingering after that A&M game when he got tackled from behind and got rolled up on. Then Garrett Nussmeier, he came in, and it was just guns a-blazing, bombs down the field. They're playing backyard football out there, and Georgia really had no answer or no way to stop it. I don't know if that's a lack of preparation, but Keely Ringo and Malachi Starks, two guys on that Georgia defense that make plays all year. Every game, they're out there making plays. For some reason on Saturday, they just weren't making plays, and they got really outplayed in that game. Kayshon Boutte led the attack for LSU, and he's an outstanding receiver. And that's why I think Ohio State can really pose problems for Georgia. On the flip side, Ohio State let Michigan have explosive plays. Probably the most explosive plays they've had all year. And J.J. McCarthy definitely had his best performance against Ohio State. Even without Blake Corum, too. Georgia, they got talent all over the defensive side of the ball. And on the line of scrimmage, we're really going to see if Ohio State brings that physicality. I don't know if they're going to get it fixed in 3 weeks, but they're going to have a chip on their shoulder, so they got that going for them. You got to remember they didn't play in their conference championship. They really weren't supposed to get in. Remember, USC was the favorite in the Pac-12 championship. They were supposed to win, and then the 4 teams would be set. Ohio State, next team in line, they definitely deserve this spot now. And with that said, I think Georgia drew the hardest game, so that's definitely a matchup to look out for. That game is on New Year's Eve, and that game will be following our 2 versus 3 matchup of Michigan and TCU. Remember, TCU went to the Big 12 championship on Saturday. They lost that game in overtime. Game-winning field goal by the Wildcats. You can say whatever you want about that end-of-game touchdown that didn't get called for TCU. Running back reached across the goal line. Couldn't really tell if the ball was loose or not. Certainly looked like he scored. They ended up not calling it. Kansas State got the ball back, kicked the game-winning field goal, and just lined it up. Michigan, they played Purdue. That game was pretty competitive in the first half. You gotta give credit to Purdue in that game. They always come out swinging against top 5 opponents. Prior to this game, under their current head coach, they were 3-0 against top 5 teams. They beat Ohio State back in 2018, Iowa last season. I think Iowa was 2 at the time. And they also beat Michigan State last year when Michigan State got up to 3 after they beat Michigan halfway through the season. So looking at this matchup, Michigan and TCU, contrast of styles, right? Yeah, Michigan want to pound the rock, play action pass, get McCarthy on the move outside of the pocket, make a play. That's where a lot of their big plays come from, when McCarthy's on the move, play action, down the field. Then you have TCU. It doesn't really matter, down or distance, really, Max Duggan, he's going to let it fly no matter what. With that being said, physicality, line of scrimmage, Michigan's definitely going to have the edge there. Michigan slowed down Ohio State's passing attack. Quentin Johnston is one of the best wide receivers in America. He's probably going to get his catches, get his yards in this game, but will it be enough? TCU, they're probably going to be pretty good underdogs. I think the line was about 9.5 right when the game got announced. I'm sure that's going to be changing in the coming days, and especially as we get closer to the actual game. But you always have to question, when talking about Michigan, if their defense is going to really show up or not. And it has been all year, especially in the second half of games. TCU, probably the best second half team on offense. Michigan, probably the best second half team on defense. So is Michigan's defense going to show up in the first half and shut down TCU and make TCU score in the second half against Harbaugh and company after they make adjustments? I think that's where the game's going to be won. TCU's going to have to get off to a fast start. Michigan playing ahead, that's just not a team that you want to play when they have the lead. They're going to run the ball. They might have the best offensive line in football, in my opinion. They've had the most consistent offensive line in football this year. Probably the best run-blocking offensive line. Even in that Ohio State game, yes, Ohio State was stopping them. They were competitive for the most part of that game. But then at some point, Michigan's O-line just took over. They said, okay, we're going to run the ball. We're more physical than you. We're bigger than you. We're going to run right at you, not go around you, right at you. Now, with that said, the way I see this game, I do think Michigan's going to win. I think they'll win pretty good, pretty handily. But I don't expect TCU to just back down to them. I just don't think the physicality is there from TCU. Against Kansas State, if the ball bounces a couple ways differently in the second and third quarter, TCU could have been down by 18, maybe even more. They had the fumbled punt. Kansas State missed an easy touchdown opportunity in the red zone as well. And they dropped a pick that ended up leading to a TCU touchdown. So there's a lot of swings in that game. And I think Kansas State kind of exposed the physicality of TCU, especially in the trenches during the run game. So it's definitely going to be an interesting matchup, contrast of styles, but nonetheless a pretty good game. Next up, in the Cotton Bowl, we have Tulane and USC. Not going to spend too much time on this game, but I do think it's an interesting matchup. USC, their tackling and their overall pass defense just got exposed against Utah. Down the field, safeties, corners, couldn't tackle those big Utah receivers and tight ends. Tulane absolutely lit up UCF. I had that on my second TV. It wasn't on my primary TV. But every time I looked over there, Tulane was just dropping 40-yard bombs. I think they had like 3 touchdowns of 40-plus yards or something. And that's definitely a formula to beat this USC team. Now, with that said, obviously, USC is going to be a pretty heavy favorite, I imagine, in this game, and rightfully so. Just from a talent standpoint, I think USC is going to win this game pretty handedly. Yes, Tulane has an explosive offense, but they're doing that against, I'd say, lesser competition, even though USC's defense isn't great. I'm not trying to say USC is going to stop them. I really don't. I think this could be like a 45, 24, 52 to 38 type of game, Really high scoring, but I think Caleb Williams, if he's healthy, all the receiving core, they come back to play this bowl game and finish out the season. Honestly, don't see how Tulane's going to stop them. And on the flip side, USC's defense, Tuipulotu, the outstanding edge rusher, I think he'll be able to feast and get after the quarterback. Tulane, they like to pass the ball. They don't pound the rock at you, which probably is USC's biggest weakness on defense. So I think Tuipulotu, maybe you see Corey Foreman get some more playing time. If guys decide to opt out, I think Corey Foreman's a guy to look out for, number 0, the former 5-star edge rusher. He could come in and make an impact, and I think USC is going to be able to get to the quarterback, maybe get a few stops, force some turnovers. They lead America in interceptions forced, so that they got that going for them. It's a huge part of why they've been so successful this year, getting turnovers, not turning the ball over, and scoring on offense nearly every drive. The next bowl game I want to talk about is the Rose Bowl. This one might be my favorite matchup outside of the playoff. This and another one I'm going to be talking about in a little bit. But Utah and Penn State. Talk about a team with fight, family, togetherness, just grit. The Utah Utes have all of that. Kyle Whittingham did it again. Went into the Pac-12 championship, leading his team to the Rose Bowl once again. Remember, they lost to Ohio State last year. Going back, trying to get redemption here against the Big Ten. But they're also facing a Penn State team who, outside of their two losses, which came against Ohio State and Michigan, two teams in the playoff, they have been boat racing every team this year. That Purdue game back earlier in the season, I believe that was week 1. That was probably the only game they really struggled in. Ever since then, they have just been taking teams out of the building. I mean, out of the building. It's been dominant performance after dominant performance. Now, with that said, I don't think Penn State has seen a team or has beaten a team that looks like Utah, and that's going to play as hard as Utah. A lot of these Utah players were on that team last year that lost to Ohio State, and they've made it known. They made it very clear that they're going into this game to get a win and finish their career on a high note. A lot of these guys are leaving after this year. I expect Cam Rising to go to the draft. I think he is an NFL quarterback, or at least could be later down the line. I think he's going to have to go and learn behind like a veteran quarterback, but I think he'll get drafted. So this could be his last game. Tavion Thomas, he's not going to be playing in this game, but he's gone too. So a lot of new guys stepping up as well. Dalton Kincaid, top 3 tight end in America. Even though I think he should have got invited or been a semifinalist for the Mackey Award, which is the nation's best tight end. He didn't make the top 3, even though he has like the most catches and yards, up there for most touchdowns in the nation for tight end. But they have him coming back for this game. I imagine he'll play. And then just a very tough defense. Penn State, run game, excellent O-line. Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, 2 studs in the backfield, 2 freshmen too. Very exciting to watch. Nick Singleton, depending on where you look or what recruiting site you follow, he was the number 1 running back by many coming out of high school last year. Came in, starter as a freshman, lighting it up in the Big Ten right now. But I think this game could be high scoring. I think both teams are going to come in, want to light the scoreboard on fire. With that said, I think physicality is going to be a huge part in this game as well, just like the Ohio State and just like the Michigan game. How are they going to respond to physicality when they get punched in the mouth? Because I believe Utah is going to punch Penn State right in the mouth just like they did USC. But Penn State is built for this. They're built to respond. They run the ball just as well as anybody. I think this is a toss-up. I don't really have a prediction as of right now of who I think will win, but I do think it's going to be a great game. The next matchup I want to talk about, and where should we head? All right, let's go Sugar Bowl before we go to the Orange Bowl. Now the Sugar Bowl, this is interesting. All right, so you have Alabama versus Kansas State. Yes. So Kansas State, 10-3, just won the Big 12. Alabama did not make the playoff. They finished number 5 in the rankings, 10-2. Now, the reason I said this is interesting is Bryce Young and Will Anderson going to play in this game. If they do, Alabama is going to be a huge favorite in my opinion, and I believe they will win this game. You got to remember, put team success aside, Alabama still might have the 2 best players in college football. I do think they still have the 2 best players in college football. Just watching them this year, Will Anderson and Bryce Young, they make a very good case to be the best player on both sides of the ball. Kansas State, they made TCU look pretty bad on Saturday. Defense was flying around. They're a completely different team with Will Howard at quarterback. Now is Will Howard going to be the quarterback in the bowl game? Adrian Martinez is supposed to be back in time. With Adrian Martinez in there, the passing threat, downfield throws, explosive offense, it's just not there. When he's in the game, it's a lot of running, Deuce Vaughn, Adrian Martinez, a lot of zone reads, short screen passes. And if I'm going to be honest, I don't think that's going to work against Alabama. Unless you just do constant zone reads and run right at Will Anderson. I just don't know if that's going to work. And even with Will Howard in there, you drop back the pass, Dallas Turner, Will Anderson off the edge. I just don't know. I don't know if Kansas State has the wide receivers to get open constantly against Alabama secondary. You got to remember, Kansas State's most explosive receiver went down with an injury out for the game in the Big 12 championship. And if Alabama's players play, he's not going to be out there to get open against guys like Eli Ricks or Kool-Aid McKinstry at corner. So that's definitely a matchup to look out for. I don't know. If I'm a Kansas State fan, I honestly don't know who I'd want at quarterback for this game. Will Howard, definitely more explosive. But like I just said, the pass rush, like how good is Kansas State's O-line? How good are these receivers when your number one option goes out of the game? Be interesting to see. The Orange Bowl, battle of the orange teams, Clemson and Tennessee. This game, my perception of Clemson really changed after the Saturday. So my expectations for this game have really gone up. Tennessee without Hendon Hooker, and it's looking like DJU is going to be entering the transfer portal and will not be playing in this game. So it's going to be Cade Klubnik versus Joe Milton. Yeah, I think Joe Milton's going to start. Yeah, he'll definitely be starting in this game. So two backup quarterbacks now starting. But I don't think that takes away from the excitement of this game. All the talent around these two guys. Joe Milton come in, just rocking of an arm, right? Probably one of the strongest arms in college football. Can he keep the ball, though, in Tennessee's hands? Not turn it over? I remember, Clemson has one of the best defenses in college football. They've had one of the best defenses in college football all season long. Now they have a quarterback. Cade Klubnik went into the game on Saturday night against North Carolina and had a day. There's one point he was like 10 for 11 for 170-something yards and one or two touchdowns. I know, it was something crazy. Now this could be a shootout if Tennessee has the receivers play, if Joe Milton doesn't turn the ball over. Easily be a shootout. At the same time, is Clemson's defense going to show up? Who's going to be playing in this game? Are the three maybe first, second round draft pick on the D-line, are they all going to be playing? Brissy, Murphy, are they playing? KJ Henry playing? Clemson's having a lot of transfers right now. Now, I don't follow Clemson like daily. I don't read message boards or know much about their depth chart, but they are having a lot of guys transfer out. So it'll be interesting to see who's playing in that game. Right now, I don't have a prediction on who I think will win. I want to wait and see who's playing for both teams. Tennessee, though, that offense, if they can move the ball in Clemson, I think they have a better shot at stopping Clemson than Clemson would have stopped in Tennessee if both teams are on it 100%. So I'd probably give the edge to Tennessee in that one right now at this moment. Now, what other game should we go to next? I got two more matchups that really stand out to me. They're obviously not New Year's Six bowl games. We already covered those. But this one, Texas and Washington in the Alamo Bowl. Now, I get Texas has won like 3 straight bowl games, and this is considered like their second or third home. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. If the Alamo Bowl is like your second home, away from your home stadium, if you're going to the Alamo Bowl every year when you have way higher expectations, but it is what it is. This matchup, I think the bowl committee knew exactly what they were doing when they took Texas here. Even though that's probably the only option they had. But this is probably the best thing the Alamo Bowl could have possibly done. Washington coming in here 10-2. Number 12 in the rankings. Maybe a little disrespectful. They could be pushing number 10. Maybe even 9. But Washington, they lead the nation in passing. Have a Heisman candidate, in my opinion, in Michael Penix Jr. Going up against the Texas secondary, who's a little inconsistent, hit or miss. They're really good at home. Really good defense at home. We saw them shut down TCU. Even though they lost, that defense at home is just a different team. Same thing against Alabama when they played Alabama earlier in the year. Really good defense at home. But are they going to be able to stop Washington? That's a tall task, in my opinion, for Texas. Now, before I get into the Texas side of things, I think Washington is going to win this game personally. I think they could get away from Texas early. If Quinn Ewers doesn't have a good game, he's been inconsistent too. Like, if he has one of those games when he's like 21 for 45, 120 yards, Texas is not winning this ball game. And if Bijan Robinson doesn't play either, there's rumors of Xavier Worthy going to the portal. Now, even if those guys play, I still think Washington would win. I think it would be closer, obviously, if Bijan plays. Like, this Texas team goes as far as Bijan will take them. But if Bijan doesn't play, just look out. Like, I don't think Texas will be able to keep up with this Washington team whatsoever. So I do think Washington will win that game. The last bowl game I want to look at, Oregon and North Carolina got announced to play in the Holiday Bowl. Now, if you want to watch a team, or a game I should say, with no defense, this is the one. If you're a sports bettor, take the over. Just pound the over, game over, team over, however you want to look at it. Take the over. These two teams are two of the worst pass defenses in college football. And along with that, Christian Gonzalez for Oregon, the projected first-round pick, is not playing in this game. Probably one of the only good defenders in that Oregon secondary that's been consistent all year is not playing in this game against a North Carolina team. Up and down at times, but against bad defenses, Drake May just lights teams up. I mean, he was a Heisman candidate just a couple weeks ago. And it's not like Oregon's going to have an insane pass rush. They haven't had one all year. Not a very good secondary. A lot of points scored in this game. Honestly, I don't know who's going to win this game. I will say, one of these teams has a run game going for them, and that's Oregon. They average over 200 rushing yards a game on the year. Bo Nix is playing. If some of you guys are questioning, I probably should have said that right off the bat, but Bo Nix is playing in this game. All of Oregon's O-line, the seniors, they're all coming back and playing in this game. North Carolina, just a really shoddy defense overall. They both have a bad pass defense, but Oregon does have a solid run D. And I think Oregon's going to be able to run the ball on them. I think that could decide the game, because I think if Oregon can run the ball, that's going to mean that their defense isn't on the field as much. If North Carolina's offense isn't on the field to outscore Oregon, I think that's a very good sign for Dan Lanning and company. So before we get out of here for this video, I want to know your guys' thoughts on these bowl games, the final rankings. Any Alabama fans out there, I want to know how you're feeling right now that you didn't make the playoff. And looking ahead at some future videos that we have, obviously we're going to do a transfer portal video. We just have to here soon. Tomorrow's going to be a crazy day in college football. So many guys are going to be entering the portal. I cannot wait. So we're going to have a video on recruiting and transfer portal. Just a couple updates on those. Sometime later in the week, me and hopefully my brother will join. We want to do like a team building draft. So we're going to do like a coaching staff draft. We're going to draft all of our coaches, head coach, coordinators, position coaches, analysts, assistants, anything. Anything you can think of on a coaching staff, we're going to be drafting those from current coaches in college football. And then the next video after that will be a player draft. So from this year, we're going to draft players that fit our system, fit our coaches, how we play. We're going to do a draft, and we're going to see who has the better team. And we're going to let you guys choose in the comments. We're going to have you vote on that. Maybe by how many likes our comments get. We'll figure that out down the line. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.